Today I'm reviewing for you Recessive Nature. This is the new horror novella from Parras Sanchez, or BPS Horror. I originally read his book, The White Bishop, that he did with AB Horror. I really enjoyed that novella a great deal. So when Brandon asked if I wanted to check this out and he sent me a copy, I said yes, please do. And I wanted to get to it right away because I thought it would be a great read for this spooky season, Halloween month. And boy, was it ever. It really was a lot of fun. In Recessive Nature, we meet cousins Cole and Joseph, who are continuing the work of their fathers who went missing by hunting down cryptids. And I thought that was such a cool concept, just the cryptid hunting and the sort of father and son sort of passing of the torch. And then this book goes in really interesting directions because Cole and Joseph discover by accident this journal of their fathers that indicate that they were going after the Jersey Devil, and that is the cryptid that they were hunting when they went missing. So now that they have this key piece of information, they want to go after the Jersey Devil. They want to go after the cryptid that disappeared their fathers and take their revenge. Cole's girlfriend, Katrina, and his sister, Christy, basically end up inviting themselves along on this trip for various reasons. This takes place in the 80s, although a lot of that, I think, is sort of down to just the vibes, honestly. I don't know if being set in the 80s is super important to the story, other than the vibes and sort of technology level. I think that you could say that plays some part in the story. But I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It wasn't overplayed necessarily. That can happen sometimes in period books where everybody just needs to reference pop cultures ad nauseum. This doesn't happen here, but it's some fun texture to the story. The trip takes them to the Pine Barrens, and once there, the story takes a turn. It's a turn that you don't necessarily expect. At least I certainly didn't, and I don't want to give it away. But it becomes a different kind of story. We meet a sort of group out there in the Pine Barrens, and I really loved the story from then on. I was already on board. I thought it was a lot of fun. It does have two main characters who are incredibly unlikable. Cole and Joseph are meant to be unlikable, and they are unlikable. So for some people, I think that might be sometimes rough going. I know sometimes people just don't like to read that much with these frustrating characters as your sort of central, main characters. But I think it really works here, especially in a short novella. I think that's the perfect place to do that. I particularly enjoyed the inclusion of queer characters. In this particular instance, that's mostly with Joe. And I love the fact that Joe is a queer character who is unlikable, because I feel like sometimes that's just something that all writers kind of shy away from, and even, queer writers themselves, because you don't want to show, anything in a negative light. I hope we're moving past that. I love an unlikable queer character. I think we need more of them. I think where some readers are going to run into some trouble here is really stylistic things. This is written in present tense, so sometimes it can feel like reading a script, down to even some of the descriptions of things feeling more like stage directions than something we necessarily would need in a novel. And sometimes in conversations, there is a lot of dialogue attributions that probably don't strictly need to be there. So it's all very much just sort of stylistic things. But it's a very short novella. Now for me, even though that was a little different than the other stuff I had been reading recently, which is, the vast majority of fiction is usually in past tense, it worked for me. I think that it worked. I like the immediacy of it in a lot of ways. And the story itself, it's worth it. It's worth getting through any of the stylistic or, there's the very minor little mistakes that maybe creep through. It happens to everybody. It certainly has happened to me. All that stuff I think is sort of immaterial to the actual story itself. The only thing I will say about the story is it's so visual, and I could create it in my head. I really loved, especially the group that we meet in the Pine Barrens. But I want to see a graphic novel of this so bad. I think it would be so cool in graphic novel form. But as it is, it's very enjoyable. I recommend picking it up if you're looking for a quick spooky read.